We're going to do a special recognition now, and I'd like to ask Gene Roden to come to the microphone. Gene, are you out there somewhere? All righty. Help me welcome Mr. Gene Roden to the microphone.
Take off my hat. Brackens, you never look good in the hat. I seen you in a hat on Facebook here a while back. You know, you made me mix my notes up. You know, this is really special to me, not just because of all you guys, but because of the fact that I was part of it, and you've all been part of my life for years and years. But I'm here tonight on a special mission that I've had for a long time. Back when they moved the Hall of Fame to San Diego, they asked all you guys to contribute stuff to the Hall of Fame that maybe we could put up here on display. And they asked me the same thing, but you know, I wasn't a rider. I didn't have a bicycle, didn't have a jersey, didn't have any of my shirts left. And I dug up a couple of things, and one of the things that I dug up that I decided that was one of the most important things in my career was a picture. And the picture was me and Todd Kingsbury when he was my race director at Waterford Oaks, Michigan. And Todd Kingsbury, back when he come down with leukemia, Merle and I sat down, and this was back when, and you guys all remember this was back when we all knew everybody, and you could sleep at somebody's house, or you could eat a meal, you could do something, you could always find a place to stay. But we wanted to do something special, and we sat down and decided to do the Leukemia Race for Life for Todd. And we never in our mind thought that it could go on for 35 years. We never in our minds thought that it could raise $5 million. And when I took that picture out to the ABA office, it didn't make it to the Hall of Fame because they didn't have room for stuff like that, but it made it one place that I was real proud of. BA asked me if he could have a copy of it and put it on his wall. And I decided that day that I was going to try to campaign and get Todd Kingsbury in the National Hall of Fame. I just felt like it was time. I felt like that he was the reason that this sport, he was one of the reasons that we've done what we've done. He was the average kid in the average town in the average BMX track. And so I made it my goal, and I'm telling you, I've grabbed quite a few of you out there, and I binge ears every time I get a chance. And if you were one of those people that I campaigned for, thank you very much, because this wouldn't have been possible without all of us campaigning for Todd and getting him up here. So it is my pleasure to introduce the video for this year's inductee, Todd Kingsbury. So let's roll the video.
That one defining moment, a crash. As BMX racers, we all know the feeling, but in this particular case, it was a life-altering crash. Leading up to this moment, Michigan's Todd Kingsbury was your typical BMX fanatic from the 80s. He lived, ate, and breathed BMX. In fact, at one time, he'd even led ABA district points in the hotly contested Michigan 1 district. But after that crash, something was awry. Concerned, the Kingsburys spent the next 9 days at the hospital, enduring tests and exams to discover what was wrong. Finally, the doctors completed their diagnosis. They explained to Todd and his parents that he had leukemia. 11-year-old Todd was now faced with the biggest race, his race for life. When the ABA staff learned of Todd's diagnosis, they launched the first ever Race for Life, a series that is still going strong some 33 years later. With all the proceeds going to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the sport of BMX continues to help in the effort to find a cure for kids such as Todd. Although weakened by leukemia, Todd continued to ride and worked harder than anyone to support the Race for Life event at his local track, Waterford Oaks BMX. Todd was named the honorary race director for that inaugural race and told a reporter this event might help other people from getting leukemia. Since that first day, BMX racers have raised a total of over $3.6 million in support of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Last year alone, USA BMX tracks and members raised over $302,000. On September 13th, 1981, Todd lost his final race and was laid to rest in his Powerline uniform. During his short 12 years of life, Todd touched many parents and racers and has continued to do so to this day. He is remembered in the hearts of all BMXers each year, as every USA BMX track holds a race for life in the hope that someday there will be a cure for leukemia, and deserving kids such as Todd can live a long, full life. Accepting this year's Special Recognition Hall of Fame award on behalf of Todd is his father, Bob Kingsbury.
Not much more I can add to that. Yeah, especially because I can't find my notes. Yeah. Well. On behalf of my wife Pam and my son Troy, we're honored to have Todd's induction to the USA BMX. We're also honored by the endless dedication of everyone who has participated in the Race for Life program. Todd was a very strong child. He could pull himself out of his crib when he was 8 months old, started walking at 9 months old, and then started riding a bicycle at 3 years old. He was hard to keep down. When BMX got started in Michigan, we went to a couple of races, and it didn't take long, and he was hooked. And then we started going to all the tracks in Michigan, and then after that, we decided to go out of town and go to a couple of races out of state, hit up some of the nationals, and it just kept going. It looked like 1980 was going to be a real good year for BMX for Todd. He had won the first place in the 1979 NBL War of the Stars in the 9-year-old class. And he took second place at the 1979 JAG World Championships in the 10-year-olds. At Michigan's first ABA race, held at Michigan State Fairgrounds, Todd tripled. His riding kept getting stronger and his handling a lot smoother. And things were really looking good. But around July of that year, I started to notice that when he'd just be practicing, that he just wasn't as quick as he was, and he started complaining about being tired after just practicing. 2 months later, when we were at the state championships, he bruised his elbow. And then again, when he went back to school, and he had a bruise about the size of an apple on his elbow. We took him to the doctor, and his doctor looked at him and they ran some tests, came back and told us he has leukemia. His doctor didn't want him to ride his bike anymore, but we we couldn't do that to him, so I just told him that he could ride around the neighborhood, but no more wheelies, no more bunny hops, none of that stuff. Gene Roden had called me and told us about the Race for Life. And when we'd heard that, our family thought it was a good idea. Little did I know that you guys could raise over $200,000 the first year. That was pretty amazing. When Todd was diagnosed with the survival rate for most of the common form of pediatric leukemia was 3%. Today, it's over 90%. Yet leukemia still causes more deaths leukemia causes more deaths. No, I'm going to start over. The survival rate was 3%. Today it's 90%. Yet leukemia still causes more deaths than any other cancer in child and teens. When Todd was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, there was not much hope. 30 years later, 9 out of 10 under the age of 15 are expected to survive their diagnosis. The money raised by the ABA over the past 30 years has helped to make this survival rate more possible. I'd personally like to thank the BMX community for the continued effort in supporting the Race for Life. Still going strong after 33 years. I hope the Race for Life continues until it is no longer needed. It's my hope, my wish that someday in my lifetime, all BMX riders, track operators, and promoters can one day say, we kicked leukemia's butt.